this second presentation here, we're going to go through various kind of biochar projects that exist in Sweden, some of them since 2017. And we've split them between biochar producers, also then some different kind of biochar users and other activities, and then also some networks and more general projects. The first one, actually, Lindebug Farm, which was where we performed our second case study, is not here today, but I'm speaking for them, and I'll be also speaking for a few other persons. So what we have here at Lindebug is first, how did the story start? Well, they were building or renovating this first building that you see there, and they wanted to find the best way to warm their house during the winter. And they heard from a colleague that biochar existed and that it could produce heat. So they applied for a grant from Klimatklivet and got then this biochar unit that you see here in the second picture. And they've been producing biochar since winter 2017-2018, which is also when I precisely started my PhD. So the pyrolysis machine is running on wood pellets that you see there. And it's used approximately half of the year to heat 3 buildings that equal about 600 square meter of living area. And the biochar is used partly in their own gardens around the farm, and also some is sold to soil manufacturers around. The Lindebug also wanted to share that in the first years, they had some issues with running the pyrolysis machine because it was slightly over-dimensioned. And in 2019, they've been extending a bit their buildings by having a greenhouse, a glass greenhouse, also heated partly in the winter, which smoothed and made it easier to run the pyrolysis process when outdoor temperatures were too high. Slightly high, and that's what you see here on this second set of pictures. On here on the left, we have where the greenhouse has been built, and now that's how it is this year has been built. You can also say that initially the plan at Lindebug Farm was to produce biochar from local biomass that was available, but in the end, for safety of operations, they have decided to go to wood pellets, more calibrated and controlled feedstock at the time. Okay, that was Lindebug Farm in the area of Nyköping. And now moving on to Vectech. So if you're here, you can speak up. Let me see.
I'm here.
Hi, Lina. Welcome.
Hello, everybody. So for Vectech, then we're in the urban greening business. And we have different production sites where we produce plant products, both in greenhouses and on fields. And the activities we have had during the years since we started this project with biochar production as a climate investment. We got the money from the government through Klimatklivet, and we got the decision in 2018, and then since then we have made the investments and the buildings, and now we have like one pyrolysis plant from biochar together with a normal heater, wood chip heater, and we are heating our office, our greenhouses, about 2,000 square meters, and also another building for work in the production. And we have the wood chip as a start, and we started the production of biochar in November 2019. The capacity is about 2,000 tons biochar per year, but we have experienced that we have not that much need for energy, similar to the what you said before about Lindebug. So we only produce about 50 to 60 tons of biochar per year. And we have still some adaptations to do within the biochar plant, fixing some mechanical things. And we have had several of visits on the site showing the plant. And something about the biochar we produce. It's very high in density, about 500 kilograms per cubic meter. And the carbon content is about 93%. And it's also very stable. The quote is 0.16. And we have also started and performed using the biochar in our green roofs. And in the cedar mats, we have the biochar since last year on the market. And we're also making an EPD for this product now and learning more about it as Elias showed before. Any questions? Yeah, here's some pictures during the project.
It's a very impressive picture of how it was built, that the machine came first and then the building, the house around it was added, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I think we'll take all the questions at the end if there are any.
Okay.
And then, so thank you, Lina. And then I think it's a turn of Telje Otulinin to have a word.
So let's see. Hello.
Hello, Johan.
Hello. So biochar at Telje Återvinning. So we are a recycling company owned by the municipality, kommunen. Okay, forward. So we did the biochar. So we did the pre-study in 2018, and then we did a lot of decision-based investigation during the spring 2019, and we started up the project in January 2020. So we worked with this in two years. So we actually finished the project just a month ago. This is also a commercial investment from Telje, so we're working on the commercial basis here. And we also had a contribution from the Klimatklivet. So we spend a lot of time thinking about which kind of pan shall we use. There is mainly pans that are continuously working, and we wanted to see if there was anything else working. So we ended up buying a batch pan from Australia, and the supplier is Earth Systems. So this is a kind of a different pan from all the other pans in Europe and Sweden. So it contains by two 30-foot containers, one paralyze and one dryer. And as far as we know, we are actually the first company in Europe that produce commercial biochar through a batch pan. So this is our plant, biochar plant in Södertälje. So on the right-hand side, the 40-foot container on the right-hand side is the pyrolysis. So we start that with biodiesel. So the runs for about 30 to 40 minutes startup, and then the process is going without any supply heat in the pyrolysis chamber. In the middle, there is the transport of the gases, and we also have burners to reduce the gases, and the transport of the hot gases into the dryer. That's the left-hand chamber there exactly. So on the right-hand side, the grays. So we are using cages to get all the material and the biomass into the containers, and afterwards we put the cages into water baths, as you can see on the right-hand side, the gray one there. They are filled with water. So we stop the process there. And this is the quick run through for the process. So we today we'll use we load the cages, we put them first in the dryer, and then we move them from the dryer into the pyrolysis chamber and pyrolysis container. And when the process is ready, approximately after 6 hours, we take them out and we put them in the water bath. And the big difference between a continuous process and this process is that we don't do almost anything work with the material before we put it in the cages. We put the twigs and the branches inside of a cage, load them so that the heat can come to the twigs and branches. But afterwards, we crush them very easily with all crusher. So that means we get the material to 0 to 15 millimeter, and then we load them onto a truck. So we deliver all our material in bulk instead of bags. So I think that's also not very many. I know there's some, but there's not many supplier like that. Okay. We are moving up we're taking care of the waste, and we now do a product for that. So that's very good. From green waste, we are now doing biochar. So this is really good. So this is from the people living in the county. And if we're moving forward, we are looking at we will increase the product. So we have a plan to actually produce more. We are today producing around 1,000-1,200 tons of material biochar, and we will during the next year produce over 2,000 tons of material biochar. And we are also looking into new materials. So today we're only using twigs and branches, and in the future or this year we will start using root bolts. We will have some pre-work with them and crush them a little bit, and then we will run them, and that will hopefully increase our product in the future.
Thank you, Johan. Very nice. Now I think it's time for Skanska. Anyone from Skanska could join today? I saw you earlier. Okay, if not, I can also present what I've been told too. So Skanska is an organization that has set climate targets to reach climate neutrality by 2045, but not only about their own scope 1 emissions, but they also want to include their scope 2 and 3, so also the indirect and the supply chain emissions. And according to Skanska, this is the main reason why they are investing in biochar. They have a focus on not only the material, but also the waste and the entire flow of biomass through their activities. And they claim also to be one of the first companies to invest in biochar in the construction sector. And indeed, they made their first investment this year with a mobile pyrolysis unit that will look similar to the one from Earth's plant system. And that picture is taken from the website of the manufacturer. And that mobile unit is expected to be delivered in February, March this year, and will be placed in Skellefteå. And it's not located in a city or on a waste management facility, but more on a site where they are actually clearing land. So it's called a development project. And a lot of stubs and branches have been stored on that site, waiting to be pyrolyzed before being valorized and then transferred for use in different areas. And the biochar will hopefully be and pass the EBC certification, and they will manufacture soil products in their quarries and then be used in urban areas mainly. So a mobile unit coming, I think the first one in Sweden, it will be a mobile one. Next one is Edward Hamilton. If you're here, Edward, I saw you earlier today.
Yes, thank you, Elias. Yes, I run the farm Hjelmstedts egendom here on Kinnekulle. It's an old family farm, and why I say it's old, we have a lot of old houses and they have a huge heat demand. So approximately now we are heating 2,500 square meters of old houses that are not very efficient. And we also, why my interest started in biochar was the grain production here on this mountain. We have very limited amount of soil, and we get less rainwater because we are on the west slope here. Very beautiful view, but it doesn't feed the stomach or pay the bank. So that's why I got interested. And we came across Biochar as early, and it was 2016. And now we have the 160 kilowatt machine here running for now 4 years, almost exactly. And yes, you can see I have a glass of champagne here. Of course, you have to have that in a presentation, I think. We do have a lot of weddings. We do have a lot of other stuff here, and everything needs heat a lot, so that's why. The long collaboration with Biochar led up to that we actually now help produce the machines here in Sweden. So together with the German company, we started Biochar Sweden. So actually the machines are tested here on my farm, and they produced 8 kilometers from here right now with the Swedish welders. And it's really nice. We have a very good cooperation there. Yes. And this is what's happened during last year. We started 2 machines and installed 1, but they are still not really finished with the things around the machine. And the big one is outside Brålanda in Vänersborg. The big agricultural school there. They have also very big heat demand. So they have this 400 kilowatt machine. They heat about 10,000 square meters, and they will also dry the biomass. And the same on my farm. If we go to the low season when the heat demand is lower, we dry the biomass to the coming cold season of the year. And the middle one there is Uppsala, Kiplingenbergs Gods. They have a brand new 224 kilowatt machine. It's the first one in the world on that size, and yes, it's working perfect. Besides, he forgot to change the big bags this weekend, so yeah, it's full. But everything should works and running now again. And the one that's not started is a very interesting project by Stefan Schörling in Hasta. It's going to be a very circular system. It's an eco farm, and he will ferment waste residues from the fields and use the heat there and mix it with the biochar. And yeah, he has a lot of plans, and I hope he will attend these meetings in a few months, and he can tell us more about this project. It will be very, very interesting.
Thank you, Edward.
Yeah, that's about it.
Thank you, Edward. And now we go to Stockholm Stad. There's one slide.
Just gonna unmute. Hi all, can you hear me?
Yes, Britt.
Okay. Hey, thank you for asking me to present this one slide. I'm going to present. We have been using biochar for tree plantings since 2009, and we started using the garden waste in the Stockholm Biochar project that we developed together with the wastewater and waste company in Stockholm, and that we together competed in the Mayor's Challenge, the Bloomberg Philanthropies Mayor's Challenge. So we've been using this biochar to when we replant street trees in the city of Stockholm. And we have this system developed where we use macadam in different fractions, and we mix about 2 cubic meters per tree. We mix in biochar in that macadam fractions, creating root volume under the pavement for the trees. And we've seen very great results. It's an ongoing project where we try to substitute soil and instead use biochar because it's renewable materials. And right now we're working on specifying the biochar in different ways and investigating how to charge it with nutrients that will be available for the trees. Yeah, I think, yes, the system also allows us to utilize stormwater for watering the trees, to irrigate them, which is another good thing about this. Thank you.
Thank you, Britt. And now it's time for Hasselfors Garden to speak up. If they are here. Okay, Katja, yes, I see you. But I see you, but I don't hear you.
Now is it better?
Yes, now we hear you.
Great. Yeah, I work at Hasselfors Garden, and we produce soils and substrates for consumers, professional growers, and landscaping purposes for green areas. So at the Swedish market, we have been using biochar for more than 10 years. I think the first beds and soil mixes were made for more than 10 years ago. And let's see, we use biochar in different kind of soil mixes and substrate mixes. As Britt-Marie showed earlier, those are for planting trees in urban environments. That is the main usage of biochar today. So we make mixes with macadam, and we call it city cross. It is also called coal macadam in different places. So that is one of the main products we do with biochar as a component. So we use approximately 5 to 20% of volume of the products can be biochar in different blends, so to say. We use also biochar in rain garden applications, and as a amendment to different kind of planting soils. Also as a soil improver to, for example, this kind of structural soils or substrates, or for already existing soils to improve the soils properties. And of course, clean biochar, we sell that also for planting purposes so the biochar can filter the water before it goes to further in the systems. Last year, we used approximately 3,000 cubic meters biochar, and since 3 or 4 years back, we only use EBC certified biochar from Sweden, Germany, and also from Finland. We don't have own production of biochar, not yet, at least. We'll see what it's very promising. We have been cooperating with different partners during all years. So we certainly we hope we can find more cooperations with biochar production as well. And the most burning questions today, I believe, is how to communicate the environmental benefits of biochar, how the carbon sink is communicated and calculated and included in the products, and if it can be, if it should be in the product or in the biochar, or because most of the biochar that is on the market today, the biochar is already sold somebody else. So carbon sink and how it's included in the purposes that we use biochar is a question mark. And we hope to be able to answer that very soon. So calculation about of carbon sinks and LCA tool is in use, so to say. Okay.
Thank you, Katja. And now we quickly go over to Vaila from Gotland.
Thanks for the invitation, Elias. We are a company focused on climate change mitigation with our office here on Gotland. We started 2018 with a field trial of on a commercial asparagus plantation on Gotland. The field trial went from 2018 to 2020, and we got good results regarding the impact of biochar-based fertilizers on soil water storage, nitrogen losses, carbon sequestration, and most important for the farmer, of a high value crop on the yield. You can look up if you go back just thanks, you can look up the results of the trial in this publication on the field trial down there in the Journal of Soil Science and Plant Nutrition from the Springer Journal. Yes, and yeah, down there on the slide you see also which partners were involved in this trial. Since we were very happy with the results, we decided to start with a product development based on the results, and we started to sell biochar products to the gardening sector in 2020, and in 21 we started selling biochar-based fertilizers to the agricultural sector. We're focusing on biochar fertilizer for high-value crops, but we now also sold small volumes of bedding biochar and feed biochar. The planning for 2021 and onwards is to focus on export, and here we are now talking mainly on export to the Swedish mainland. And we've now starting a feasibility study for a plant on Gotland, and we think that a possible start for production could be 2024, depending on the results of the feasibility study. Thanks.
Thank you, Sebastian. Next is Ecotopic and Biochar Products. Matthias, if you're there. And I also want to say that we have now, we reached 12 o'clock, so we're supposed to be on the lunch break, but we have only 1, 2, 3 presentations left, short ones.
Okay, I will be quick. Thank you for having me. You can take the next slide. So my name is Matthias Gustafsson. I'm running 2 companies together with my colleague Lotta, Jonathan, and Jacqueline. We started Ecotopic 2012, which is a consultancy firm. And I was working with sewage sludge treatment and wastewater treatment before, and that's where I came into the idea of using pyrolysis for sewage sludge. But then I moved over to biochar instead during the years after 2012, instead of sludge char. So 2019, after we have supported quite a few of the producers that we have up and running today with the funding, especially from Klimatklivet, and we've done some work with supporting EBC with their certificates and getting biochar approved as a substrate for organic farming in the European Union. We saw that we need to somehow support the market and get more biochar out to the end users. So we started Biochar Products or Biochar Products 2019, and yeah, you can take the next slide. So in Ecotopic, we are supporting companies and other entities with feasibility studies or that type of work, with, as I said before, with funding and that kind of stuff as well. We're calculating carbon credits and carbon so that the companies can be carbon neutral with biochar. And we are design supporting different projects as well, especially there Jonathan's expertise when it comes to plant beds and green roofs and so on. Next, please. So the Biochar Products company, we are developing new soils. We are doing the same soils as the other ones as well, with this carbon with macadam soil, as Britt-Marie told about. But we're also now looking into more recycled materials, so now you can buy 100% recycled soils from us. We're also looking into a very interesting market where we add biochar into concrete. So we have this plant bed, what do you call it, where you plant the trees in, as a product, and we are selling biochar, and we're also selling biochar with and without carbon sink. So from us you can buy biochar products with the carbon sink and get a certificate from that. Next slide, I think, is the last. Thank you.
And the next one now is Cecilia, again, for the last presentation.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. And well, yes, Cecilia Hermansson. I work at the Hushållningssällskapet, Sjuhärad, and we are currently running a quite interesting project about a standard and creating a standard to certify these carbon sinks, as some of the other speakers have already talked about. The project is about 3 years project. We are finishing in March next year. And the aim has, from the beginning, always been to create a functioning market for carbon sinks by biochar in Sweden. Next slide, please. These are, well, some of the work packages or activities that we are engaging in. And of course, the papers on the left-hand side, they are standing for the standard and the certification, which is our main work package. We are also doing, or have been doing, a study of environmental benefits, like co-benefits of biochar in agriculture. So those are the benefits that you can't really calculate or count on when it comes to the carbon sink, but we know they are there, and they shouldn't be dismissed too easily. So that's quite an interesting report. If you, it's in Swedish though, so but if you want to read it, we are having one of our targeted groups is farmers, and therefore we have a practical demonstration which will come this spring, where we will show how can you use biochar in a full-scale farm, and how do you spread it, what machinery would be the best to use, what machinery is not so good to use, and so on. We've done a lab study with how fast does biochar charge with nutrients in a lab environment, at least. And we are looking at business models for both the farmers and the buyers of these carbon credits. So it's quite hard to do it in a quick manner, but I think that's the main work packages, and I would be very happy to speak to any of you if you want to know more about it or have any questions. So quick overview, and thank you, Elias, for inviting me to this.